everyone. Just wanted to do a real brief tutorial kind of thing showing how to prepare a piece for doming, so that way you can avoid extra work by having to sand off any drippings or runoff on the other side. Normally you see them for a lot of the smaller pieces, but if you have a really big piece like this one, you can see, yeah, it's much bigger than a shaker or a pendant. So what happened is I domed the front, which is this super cute possum family. The mold is from Narwhal Star Studio, so if you want to get a mold for yourself, check them out on Etsy. They're fantastic. So I domed the front side, and that turned out really good. Unfortunately, there was some runoff, especially up here at these tiny little points where you have those really short, small angles there. And I got some runoff up here. You can see a part there and what's left of this part right here. So I've sanded that off with just regular sandpaper. I believe it was 220 grit, but you can use whatever grit you need to get it off. So I'm gonna dome the back of this to get rid of that imperfection because it drives me crazy. So sanding the whole piece actually gives the resin something to grip onto. So because if you try to do a flat surface with absolutely no scratches or sandings, if you can see the little scuff marks there, then you run the risk of the resin popping off, basically, because it doesn't have anything to hold on to. So these little grooves in here, even though they're very tiny, it gives the resin something to hold on to and keeps it from doing that. So we're going to prepare the front side of this mold, or casting I should say. We're going to prepare the front side using just plain tacky glue. You can get this at any craft section of a supermarket or Walmart, Joann's, Michael's, whatever they have available. Please ignore my cats. They've been driving me crazy all morning. I believe this giant 16-ounce bottle, I think it was like $4 or something, so it's super cost effective. The good thing about it is it's really easy to peel off. I've tried Elmer's glue, I've tried wood glue. They ended up being a lot harder to get off for me, personally, than I would have liked. But I tried tacky glue, and it was pretty good. So I quite appreciated being able to not destroy my casting even further by trying to peel the glue off and then having to fix it all over again, because that's a pain. So real simple, just take your tacky glue and a popsicle stick, or your fingers, a toothpick, whatever you want to use. Now, since this is such a big piece, I've made the mistake of trying to cover the entire thing in glue because I was so paranoid about any kind of drips. But I discovered I don't need to waste all that time and all that glue. I can just go about an inch or so into each edge of the mold, because if you set the casting up on something like paper cups, plastic cups, just raise it up off of the surface, then it can only go so far under the casting, because everything takes the path of least resistance. So it's only going to go so far, and then gravity will just pull the drip down. So you don't have to go all the way into the center of a piece this big, which is fantastic, because I very quickly found out I don't have the patience to do a whole thing. So I'm going to just get started. Just going to squeeze out a really good amount of the glue around the perimeter of the casting. And like I said, you don't have to do the whole thing. Just go about an inch in. That's about a little more than as far as I've seen the resin drip off. I don't like using UV resin, first of all, for something this big, because it's really not cost effective. UV resin is expensive for how little you get, which is why it's best for smaller pieces. I don't like using it for doming anymore because it's too easy for the UV to pop off of the regular two-part epoxy. And that's not good, especially if you're selling it and someone is giving you money for a product that's just gonna end up failing. So I don't like that risk at all. And if you get some glue in the center or wherever, it's not a big deal. It's gonna peel right off when it's dry, so don't worry about it. And if you go down on the sides, that's cool too. Doesn't matter. Just means you don't have to sand the sides as much. So, like I said, all I'm doing, I did a very liberal amount of tacky glue, because if you do too thin a layer, then the resin can still find its way to the casting underneath, and that becomes a pain in the butt, because then you have to sand and dome and do this all over again, and something that should only take a couple of days ends up taking several, and ain't nobody got time for that, so especially me. So as you see, I'm just going a little 3/4 to a full inch in here, and I've just got this piece on a piece of scrap cardboard and wax paper, because I'm gonna move it under a heat lamp, because like I said, I am impatient, and there was a time when I put tacky glue on some small pieces that I was gonna dome and left them overnight, and I came back the next morning and they were not dry in the slightest. So I was very frustrated by that, because I was gonna dome them before I had to go to work that day, and I couldn't. So that way I could I could peel the glue off when I got back home that evening, and I couldn't. So something that, like I said, should have only taken like a day and a half, 2 days, ended up taking much longer. And that was frustrating. And I'm using a popsicle stick just because I don't like stuff on my hands. I don't like wearing gloves all that much. I will wear it for mixing epoxy. There's no two ways about that. Because I mainly, ostensibly for safety, which I'm not going to get into because I see so much drama over resin safety. There are some people who say, oh, you should never let it touch your skin ever. You'll get cancer, or something equally as dramatic. Like, and just leave people alone. People who have done this for a long time, they know what they're doing, and they know what's best for them. And even if they don't, it's really nobody else's business. So just leave people alone. Mind your business. Now, yeah, if somebody's smearing it all over their face, that's a problem. And yeah, definitely call that out, because there's so many, there's some weird trends apparently that go around. Thankfully, I am not on TikTok. I don't follow a lot of popular YouTubers and like public figures, so I thankfully miss out on a lot of that. But I hear it secondhand from friends of mine, and it kind of makes me laugh, but it's also really sad, because it's just so ridiculous that people would do stuff like that for clout or for clicks. And it's, yeah, I'm not in high school. I'm not in middle school anymore. I don't have the patience for that. I don't know, maybe I'm just an old fogey. Who cares? Whatever. I know I'm old. Anyway. I'm talking a lot just to fill up time, because it's not a lengthy process, but it does take a little bit of time. But it's super simple. But yeah, back to gloves. I don't wear gloves doing this part because it's just glue. But that's why I'm also using a popsicle stick instead of a toothpick. Also because a toothpick would take much, much longer. But toothpicks are great for doing this on smaller pieces, because then you can really push it into, you can push it to the edge and really get in there better than you can with a big popsicle stick. But I hate stuff touching my hands. But on the other side of that, I can't feel much of anything when I'm wearing gloves. I've got much better tactile sensitivity without gloves, so I can feel what I'm doing better. I think, at least. But if you wanted to make this probably an even quicker process, just slap on a glove and then just... And then just peel the glove off and throw it away and go on about your day. But this also helps me smooth it down so I'm not wasting as much tacky glue. Even though it's cheap, I try not to waste a lot of stuff because, I mean, I'm not made of money. I've not hit the Powerball, so, and I don't anticipate ever hitting it, so it's not like I've got money to just throw away. I don't think any of us do. And if you do, kudos, keep it to yourself. Don't make me jealous. I'm already jealous of you. Alright, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, all it is it's craft glue. That's it. It's not anything that you have to be, oh my god, it's got to be absolutely perfect. It has to be only to the edge and right to the edge and then, like, no, just whatever. I'm just adding a little more there because I like symmetry. I don't like negative space that I've not planned for, that's not intentional. And plus, that'll, given where it is, right up here at this tiny little, if you can see, okay. In this tiny little angle right here, that's probably where I'm going to get resin runoff. So, put it thicker where you think it's going to run off more. Keep in mind that the thicker you go, the longer it will take to dry, because if I flip this over and tried to dome the back right now, it's not going to work. It's going to be completely pointless, and I'll just have to sand it all down and start all over again, or scrap the whole thing, and I really don't want to because I was super, super proud of this one. So I don't want to get rid of it without at least trying. So anyway, that's done, so it can go in the trash. Or use it for something else, whatever. And I will go put this under the heat lamp, and hopefully in a few hours it will be nice and dry and ready to come back for the top coat / dome coat. There is a difference. Doming does have a bit of a curve to it because it makes a dome. So yeah, a lot of resins say that they're self-leveling, which I don't know why they say that, because you can get the surface tension good enough to make a dome. A top coat or a flood coat is a very, very thin layer that just covers the top. That's it. It's usually used for like countertops and ceiling paintings and stuff like that. So it's helpful for that. It doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of preference. So anywho, we'll come back in a few hours and start doming, top coating, whatever. We'll put resin on the back and fix all my mess ups and mistakes. So, see y'all then. Okay, it's been a few hours. The glue has dried. That heat lamp really, really helps, like you would not believe. The one I'm using, it's a 250 watt because my family and I have chickens, and we had to have one that high for when we had babies, and 250 is pretty good. I've tried a 60 watt reptile bulb and it just was so I'm sure there's a way to get it to work, but I figured, well, we got a 250, whatever. So anyway, the glue's dried, as you can kind of see the ridge there, so it's ready to go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to prop it up on these paper cups. That helps raise it up so that any drips that accumulate, like I said earlier, they will only adhere to the barrier that we've created with the glue and just drip on down instead of going around the edge and then spreading out over the entire piece, because that's even more of a pain. So I've got the cups kind of settled out to give support to everything, the edges, the bottom, and of course the center, because if the center bows in, then it's going to be bad. So you're going to have to start all over again probably. And just make sure that the cups don't touch the edges, because then if the cups adhere to your piece, well, then you're kind of SOL there. I've got my resin mixed up. This, if it will focus, sort of. You get the idea. It's MAS epoxies, or mass epoxies, however you say it. They're 2-to-1 medium resin, because I can demold stuff within like 3-4 hours with this stuff. The only catch is it really likes heat, so it's going to stay out here under the heat lamp as well, same as I did with the glue. I get it up to about 84 to 90 degrees or so, and today is a good day to do it. It's about 60 something out here, and tomorrow it's going to be a bad day because it's only going to get to like 50, and that means that the heat lamp has to work even harder to keep it up to that temperature. So I figured today is as good a day as any to do this one instead of using a 24-hour epoxy. So all we're going to do, it's all mixed up, and you got to work kind of fast with this one because it sets up, you only have about a 15-minute work time. And I really hope I mixed enough, because if I didn't, I'm going to be really upset, and I don't think I mixed enough. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, I'm going to try at least. So, got it all mixed there. Scrape the sides. A lot of people will tell you never ever scrape the sides and then put that into your piece, because that's all unmixed resin, and it's not going to cure properly. Like, well, it will be mixed if you scrape the sides while you're mixing, so, you know, it's kind of the whole point. But anyway, that's just me. What do I know? I don't like waste. I really, and I know that sounds kind of weird to say that and be in this hobby, since it really is, it's a conundrum, because you do have a lot of waste and environmental factors, and that's going all over TikTok and social media now, where people are getting blasted for doing resin art, and people are going, well, think of the planet, there's so much waste. Like, I understand, and I really do get it, and I really do think that those concerns are legitimate, but at the same time, I think they're missing the point of who's creating more waste. The little, part-time hobbyers that work with epoxy, or the gigantic corporations that spew out pollution, hundreds of metric tons of pollution every hour. So, if you're looking for a sustainable hobby, this kind of isn't it. You may want to look into upcycling or crochet or any kind of yarn work or fiber work. But I'm getting off topic. Anywho, I do not like waste. Mainly the environmental concerns, yeah. But also, I am not made of money. As I said earlier, I have not won the lottery. I'm not made of money. I don't have money to just throw away. So, to me, the waste is wasting money that I really don't have. And I'm trying to get this to focus. I'm sorry. There we go. So all I'm doing, I'm just taking my popsicle stick and just going up to the edges. Sometimes I'll just lift the piece and tilt it and let the resin run where it will. But that's really messy and it's more cleanup, and I don't care for it that much. At least not for something like this. If I was going to do something like fluid art, then yeah, I would do that, just simply because it's so much easier to do it with that. But this I want to make as little extra work for myself as possible. Now you see this part here, I don't know if you can see it, maybe. This little part right up here, that's where I had a lot of runoff from before. And the reason I had runoff is because with bigger pieces you can sometimes get away with using something like painter's tape around the edge. You make sure it's on there real nice and tight, you make a good seal, and then you can just peel the tape off when you're done. Well, in theory, yes, but for me, it didn't work because of these tiny little sharp angles there. If it was just one giant heart, yeah, it would have been perfect. It would have been just fine. But the less stuff, I may have enough. I may have mixed enough. Awesome. The less you expect from your materials, in all honesty, the happier you'll all be, the less frustrated you'll be. There's another little hump of resin there. if you have a heat gun as well, an embossing gun, a low-powered heat gun, you can use that as well to push the resin around and also get rid of any little bubbles that may form. A good thing about adding heat in that way with just hot air instead of a flame is that as the resin warms up, before it starts to cure, it actually becomes more liquid and more watery, so it will move a lot faster, which is great when all you're doing is a top coat, or if you need it to be real thin to get into crevices and stuff. But in this case, I didn't feel like finding another outlet to plug in a heat gun out here, so anyway, so I've just got my little butane. Is this butane? I think it's a butane lighter, something like that. And I'm just gonna take it and get rid of some of these bubbles. It's actually running low on fuel. And you still want to be kind of careful about holding the flame too close, because you can put burn marks into epoxy, and they will be extremely noticeable. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I have made so many mistakes and whatnot in my 11 months of doing this hobby that hopefully I've learned my lesson. Sometimes not. Alright, that's good enough. Whatever. Alright, and since it's outside on my sun porch doing this, I have this. It's actually like a picnic cover thingy. I'm trying not to get it too close to my piece. And it pops up into a tent. You put it over your picnic food or your potluck food or whatever, just to help keep dust and dirt and bugs and stuff from landing in your epoxy and ruining it. So, there we go. I will set this over top of it and put the heat lamp on, because, like I said, the MAS epoxies, in my experience at least, it really, really loves heat. And my house is not kept hot enough to benefit. So it's out here on the sun porch where I can have my 250-watt heat lamp. And hopefully this will be ready to touch by sundown. So, anyway, work everything, all the resin to the edges. If it drips off, whatever, doesn't matter, because it's all going to drip onto the paper underneath. The paper will just get thrown away, or if it's usable, I'll reuse it. Use it for paint and stuff. So, see you in a few hours. Alright, it's been about 4.5 hours since I did my doming on the back of this piece. It's already nice and hard. Looks pretty good. Yep. I found with MAS epoxies, the heat works wonders. If I hadn't had the heat lamp on and had it about 84, 85 degrees, this would still be really sticky. Thankfully, it's not. It's hard. It's cool. The piece is cooled down and flattened back out and hardened back up. So we're going to take the glue off and get these drippings off. As you can see here, there's a big drop there, and a big one there. But it's all within the barrier of the glue that we've done. So there should be, fingers crossed, no problem just peeling it off. So the trickiest part is just finding a place where you can peel it. Like trying to get it, pick the epoxy is a little difficult. So I tend to go for a corner or a point. And sometimes you've got to take a pair of sharp tweezers or something to just make a dent in it. But I've got relatively long nails, so that helps too. And I'm getting there. And there we go. And once you get it started, it's real easy to just peel off. And there's no damage to the front. Absolutely none. Just to be careful if you do use anything sharp that you don't go down too far into the glue, because then you will scratch the piece, and that's That's painful, emotionally, in your heart. So this one drip right here popped right on off. I will have to sand this little piece down a little bit, but that's okay because it's going to be edged in metallic silver, so it's going to hide that. There's another drip off. And just keep going all the way around. That real big drip over the baby possum's ear. And kind of drips down the side a bit, but that's okay. That little bell you hear in the background is my foster dog, Nutmeg. She's a tiny little Pomeranian. She has to have a bell on so I know where she is so I don't step on her. And there we go. Here's all the glue. Came off in one big piece. All the drippings came off. So that can be thrown away. Hi, Nutmeg. And there are some parts on the side that I'll need to cut or sand off. And to avoid that, there's an easy solution. You can take the glue when you're doing the barrier on the top. You can take your glue and just go all the way around the edge. So that way when you peel it up, you'll peel the edge up too. And there you go. So, this is, whoop, there's my other pieces of glue from earlier that I'm gonna get off eventually. Anyway, so there you have it. It's front and back are nice and domed, nice and covered. This is a finished piece almost. It's just going to get findings to be turned into a wall hanger soon. And there you have it. I hope this has been helpful. And happy crafting. Bye.